Welcome back to our third and final segment of this week's episode of Inside the Glass, brought to you by College Hockey Inc.
Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 90% rate. Joe Pavelski.
Backhand scores! Wow, what a goal!
Johnny Gaudreau. And Torrey Krug were stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you are a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey. Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow @collegehockey.
Champions of the college hockey world!
And we're back. We have reached the point of our program where we will give you the USHL CCM Players of the Week, take a look at the standings and the playoff picture. We're going to start with the USHL CCM Players of the Week. We'll start with the forward of the week, and that is Colin Tyson of the Dubuque Fighting Saints. In 2 games played last weekend, he had 5 goals, 1 assist, and a +3 rating. Tyson scored a pair of goals in a 6-2 win over the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders on Friday before tallying a hat trick and adding an assist in Dubuque's 7-4 win in Omaha on Saturday that clinched a playoff berth for the Fighting Saints. The hat trick was the Monroe, Michigan native's 3rd of the season. He is currently tied for the USHL lead with 34 goals this season. Tyson is also 2nd on the Fighting Saints and tied for 3rd among all USHL players with 58 points in 55 games. The Notre Dame commit has tallied multiple points in a game 15 times this year and has earned at least 1 point in 38 of the 55 games he has played this season. Tyson was also named Forward of the Week on February 6th and previously played for the Cooley Region Chill, Victory Honda, and CompuWare. He was selected in the 6th round, 90th overall by Dubuque in the 2013 USHL Phase 1 draft.
Your CCM Defenseman of the Week was Ben Mirages of the Chicago Steel. In 2 games played, Ben had 1 goal, 3 assists, and was a +2 rating, and Mirages tallied 2 points on Friday night against Tri-City and followed up that performance by dishing out a pair of assists in Chicago's 4-1 victory over the Storm on Saturday to help the Steel clinch the Eastern Conference regular season title. And since being acquired by Chicago on February 27th, the Providence College commit has been a steady presence on the blue line for the Steel. In his 11 games with his new team, Mirages has 9 points, including 4 multi-point outings, giving him a total of 19 points on the year. Earlier this season, Mirages was named to the USA Hockey's Ivan Hlinka team and the USA Hockey/CCM All-America Prospects game. The Newburyport, Massachusetts native was also named to the USHL NHL Top Prospects game and was ranked 48th among North American skaters on NHL Central Scouting's midterm rankings.
And the goaltender of the week was Jan Ruzicka of the Des Moines Buccaneers. He went 2-0-0 last weekend with a 0.5 goals against average and a .975 save percentage. Ruzicka backstopped Des Moines to a pair of wins over the weekend and wrote to being named goaltender of the week for the 4th time this season. The Czech netminder made 17 saves on 18 shots in the Buccaneers' 6-1 win over Omaha on Friday before stopping all 22 shots he faced in Des Moines' 3-0 shutout of Sioux Falls on Saturday. Ruzicka now sports a record of 24-12-1-1 and has 5 shutouts on the year, tied for the most among all USHL goaltenders. He's also tied for 10th in the league in both goals against average and save percentage and has made 30 or more saves in 23 of his 39 appearances this season. Ruzicka is in his 2nd full season with Des Moines and was named to the USHL NHL Top Prospects game last year, making 14 saves in that contest. This season, he was named to the NHL Central Scouting Players to Watch list and previously won Goaltender of the Week honors on October 10th, January 2nd, and February 13th. Prior to his time with the Buccaneers, Ruzicka played for BK Mlada Boleslav in the Czech Republic and was selected in the 3rd round, 47th overall by Des Moines in the 2015 USHL Phase 2 draft. Those are USHL CCM Players of the Week. CCM is the official equipment provider of the United States Hockey League. And now we are going to take a look at the USHL standings, and we will start with the Western Conference and Sean.
Thanks, Matt. Leading off the Western Conference are the Sioux City Musketeers, who have just recently clinched the Anderson Cup this past weekend with a record of 40-11-5-2 for 87 points. Right behind them in 2nd place are the Waterloo Blackhawks. They have also clinched up a playoff spot this season with a record of 39-15-2-2 and 82 points. In 3rd place, the Fargo Force with a record of 35-18-4-1. They have 75 points. And rounding out that 4th and final playoff spot are the Des Moines Buccaneers with a record of 35-21-3 with 74 points. And the final 4 teams have all been eliminated from playoff contention. In the West, the Lincoln Stars with a record of 31-21-5-1 and 68 points. The Omaha Lancers in 6th place, 21-35-2 for 49 points. In 7th place, the defending champions Tri-City Storm with a record of 20-36-2 and 48 points. And the 8th place in the West are the Sioux Falls Stampede with a record of 19-33-6 with 47 points.
And in the Eastern Conference, the Chicago Steel have clinched first place in the Eastern Conference with a record of 37-16, 2-3. That gives them 79 points, 4 ahead of the Dubuque Fighting Saints, whose record of 34-17, 5-2 gives them 75 points. Tied with the Muskegon Lumberjacks, who have a record of 35-18, 3-2. Dubuque does have more regulation overtime wins, so currently they own the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. In 4th place are the Green Bay Gamblers. In 59 games played, they have a record of 34-21, 2-2, which gives them 72 points. Right behind them are the Youngstown Phantoms. In 58 games played, they have a record of 32-25-1 for 70 points. Eliminated from playoff contention are the Bloomington Thunder, who have a record of 24-26-5-3 for 56 points. The Madison Capitals, who have a record of 23-31-1-3 for 50 points. Team USA has a record of 23-32-1-2 for 49 points. And rounding out the standings are the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders, who have a record of 12-42-3-1 for 28 points. And now we're going to take a look at the playoff picture. We are set in the Western Conference. Looks like Fargo and Des Moines could maybe trade places this weekend. If Fargo were to lose both of their games and Des Moines were to win their remaining game, then Des Moines would jump over Fargo into 3rd place. But right now, as it stands, as we're looking at the standings in the first round of the playoffs, Sioux City will be taking on the Des Moines Buccaneers, and the Waterloo Blackhawks will be taking on the Fargo Force. In the Eastern Conference, obviously of great import to those of us here in Youngstown, it's like this. Green Bay has 1 game remaining. The Phantoms have 2. Green Bay has a 2-point lead on the Phantoms, 72-70. If Green Bay wins in any shape or fashion on Thursday night in Bloomington, Green Bay clinches the playoff spot because they own the first tiebreaker regulation overtime wins over the Phantoms. If Green Bay were to lose in overtime, that means they would be 3 points ahead of the Phantoms, and the Phantoms would need to win both games in any fashion this weekend. They would need 4 points. The Phantoms cannot end up tied with Green Bay and make the playoffs. If Green Bay were to lose on Thursday night, the Phantoms would then only need 3 points on the weekend in order to clinch the playoffs. And, Sean, it's not a great spot to be in, but you still have maybe a toe in the door.
Yeah, and Green Bay taking on Bloomington on Thursday night, and the Phantoms know very well that Bloomington is not a slouch team. They're only a couple points behind them on the or about 14 points behind them in the standings. However, when they played back a couple months ago, it was 2 really good games. Both games were very, very contentious. You didn't really know who was going to win in either game until the final horn blew. So it's not like there's not a chance. Bloomington can outplay Green Bay. Bloomington is at home, so that kind of helps the Thunder out in that regard. However, the Gamblers have won their last 8. I believe that we heard Brad Patterson say that they haven't lost since they came to Youngstown, and the Phantoms defeated them. So Green Bay's hot right now. So it could go either way. We hope that Bloomington is able to win, make it easy and win in regulation for the Phantoms. But there's still hope. There's still hope the Phantoms can get in, and it just all comes down to what Green Bay does tomorrow night.
And I guess we would be remiss in saying if we didn't point out that Dubuque and Muskegon are locked into the 2 and 3 seed. They can't go up to 1. They can't drop down to 4. But it's yet to be decided who's going to be 2 and who's going to be 3, because obviously they're both tied with 75 points. Dubuque would probably own the first tiebreaker. Yeah, they have 33 regulation overtime wins, and Muskegon only has 29. So if they end up tied, Dubuque would end up getting the 2 seed. And Sean, I don't care what those 2 teams do to each other. I hope they go 5 games and just wear each other down to a pulp. I want the Phantoms to make the playoffs. I think that'd be a great series against the Chicago Steel. I could see that going 5 games easily as well. I think
absolutely.
the Phantoms and the Steel match up very well. Phantoms, obviously fell 1 overtime point short of tying their season series with Muskegon this year. Phantoms 0-3-1 against the Dubuque Fighting Saints this year. So I guess if you just look at it that way, if there's a team I don't want to see in the second round of the playoffs, it's the Dubuque Fighting Saints. But first things first, Green Bay has to lose to Bloomington on Thursday night, or at least only get 1 point for the Phantoms to have a chance. And I am saying that there's a chance.
There absolutely is a chance. If Green Bay is to lose, all the Phantoms would, if you want to look at the bare minimum that the Phantoms would need to do, would be to win at least 1 game in any way, shape, or form. And if they are to lose one, they would they could lose in overtime. If they lost in regulation, they would not get that extra point. So if we're looking at the bare minimum, and we don't want, we obviously want the Phantoms to just win out and make it easier on us, for not having to play any scenarios out in our head. You want to see them win out, but best case scenario, if Green Bay does lose in overtime, that gives them that extra point. So that would hurt the Phantoms either way. So really, if Green Bay loses, Phantoms need to win 1 game and go to overtime in the next. But obviously, you want to see them win out. And we saw a great season series between the Phantoms and the Chicago Steel. The Phantoms ending the Steel's 10-game win streak at the start of the season, which, if you ask me, looking at the point standings now, those 20 points really played into a factor come down to the wire here at the end of the season.
Yeah, Chicago definitely started the season hot and really did not look back from there. But, I guess I also don't want to be a downer on this parade, but I guess it just also bears pointing out that if the Phantoms were to lose either game this weekend, it wouldn't matter what Green Bay did. The Phantoms' playoff hopes would be dashed.
Yeah, very true. You don't want to lose any game, especially at this point of the season. It really, again, it makes it easier if the Phantoms just win out. We said this, last week when we had the 4 games remaining, the 7 points. That had the Phantoms just won out and got those 8 points, that they would have solidified themselves in the playoffs. But where we're at now, there's still a chance. And if they are to get in, this Phantoms team is going to be very, very dangerous in the playoffs.
Well, that'll wrap things up for Sean and I. And this week's episode, like we said, we hope it is not the penultimate episode. We hope to be joining you next week, not to wrap up the season, but to talk about playoffs. And yes, I am talking about the playoffs. I do want to talk about the playoffs. So, for Sean Stewart, the Prince of Public Address, the master of the microphone, I am Matt Lipsack, the voice of your Youngstown Phantoms. Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Glass this week. Be sure to tune in on Hockey TV on Thursday night. Catch that Green Bay Bloomington game and cheer very hard for the Bloomington Thunder. And hopefully we will have games of import here at the Cavelli Center on Friday and Saturday night. So Saturday night on Callus Resource Fan Appreciation Night, there will be an auction after the game for jerseys. On Friday night, there is an autograph party with the team in the Cavelli Center concourse. So definitely come down to the Cavelli Center if you are able. Great seats still available. Call 330-747-PUCK for tickets. That's 330-747-7825. So, again, one more time, for Sean Stewart, I am Matt Lipsack, the voice of your Youngstown Phantoms. Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Glass this week. Thank you to all of our sponsors for being with us all season long. Sound out. Fade to black.